The format, the format for this meeting is a 10-minute speaker, our secretary's announcements, a coffee and snack break, and our main speaker. Our first speaker for tonight is Jen K, excuse me.
Jen Alcoholic. Thanks all for having me. I'm glad to be here. Wow, it's a big meeting. So I'm not a big speaker. Like, I don't speak a lot of places, so bear with me here. But thank you, Hero, for bringing me with you. Hero's my sponsor, and I've known Hero for ages, and I was so excited when I finally got to start working with him. And I feel like in the short amount of time, my life has just gotten so different. Like, it's changed so much for the better. So it's been really, really exciting. I love sponsorship. I do love AA. I got sober pretty young. I was 23. I am going to try to get sober in this talk before, because I didn't drink. I actually was like, wait, I've like been sober 5 times as long as I drank. And I was like, that's amazing. I'm so grateful for that. Like, I could not believe that. Because when I was drinking, I didn't think I would ever not drink. Like, I loved alcohol so much. And even when I wanted to stop, I couldn't. So, like I said, I got sober at 23. I started drinking at 18. I always probably needed a drink. I was a very anxious, restless, irritable, discontent child. I remember I was trying to treat my alcoholism. I swear I had alcoholism before I ever picked up a drink, and I was trying to treat it in other ways, with other things. And I did a lot of geographics, even in elementary school. I begged my mom to pull me out of elementary school because the teachers and the kids were super mean, and she did. And so then I was homeschooled, but then I wanted to go back to school, and so I did, and I hated that. So then I went to boarding school, and I hated that. So then I went to a different boarding school and hated that one. And then I finally managed to graduate from a school I spent 2 years at. And then I got to college, and I found alcohol, and it was the best thing in the whole world for me in that moment. It treated whatever was going on with me. It kind of made me feel normal and relaxed, and I could connect with people. I felt so alive, and I felt like people liked me, and I didn't need to ever move again because this was the answer. And I was like, why didn't I do this sooner? This is probably why everyone else seemed to get along with each other. They were just drinking all the time, and I was missing out. And the problem was, even from my first time I drank, I couldn't control it. I got blackout drunk pretty much the first go around. Not as bad as it got later on, but I got really drunk and had to be dragged back to my dorm. And the people that were around me were not super thrilled with how I was when I was drunk. But again, I didn't really care because I felt good drunk. And in my mind, they all loved me and thought I was so cool and so funny. And meanwhile, they're literally carrying me in my own puke back to my dorm. And it only got worse from there. It didn't get better. It only got worse. I kind of went up and down, and I was able to, in the first year or so, drink normally sometimes and then I just never knew when it was going to hit. I never knew when I was going to get so drunk that I couldn't control, how much I was, what I was doing, what I was saying, blacking out, all that. I just never knew, because sometimes I could have a couple drinks, get that nice buzz going, and I'd be okay. And then other nights I would come to from a blackout, or I would know I would just keep drinking, and it was never enough. And so I didn't think I was an alcoholic, though, because I didn't drink every day, and like I said, I didn't get blackout drunk every day, and I thought I could control and manage. And that was the thing that kept me coming back to alcohol for the amount of time that I did, because even when I found Alcoholics Anonymous, I didn't think I was an alcoholic, and I kept having to go out and prove to myself that I was. And I had a bunch of pretty bad experiences in drinking. I woke up in weird places, people I'd never met before. I've have no, dangerous situations. And I was really, really grateful that nothing bad actually happened out of those. They could have, but, I felt very lucky. But it was almost one of those things, my friend and I woke up in a strange person's apartment once, and the guy actually had taken care of us, but it could have gone so different, because we don't know how we found him, how he found us, how we got there. We both had blacked out. And we just kind of laughed it off because it was just so scary. We couldn't think, we just didn't know what else to do. So it just, again, things got worse. I kept blacking out. Friends kept leaving me, and I started to feel the way I felt when I was sober. And then being sober was unbearable. I hated being sober. It was almost worse. All that anxiety intensified. And so, and I started having consequences. People started like not wanting to be my friend. I lost out on a job opportunity. And my solution was, again, to do a geographic, leave college, go home, spend time with mom, heal from my dad dying. Because my dad passing was really what gave me permission to drink. And so I was home for a week, and my mom picked me up from the hospital. I'd blacked out, fallen asleep in the road. I don't know why I chose that. And someone called the cops, so I woke up in the hospital, and they told me I could never drink again. And I laughed at them, and I was like, that's not the problem. Like, I just didn't eat today. And I just didn't want to give it up. I didn't want to give it up. But my mom had other plans. She sent me to rehab. That's where I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't understand Alcoholics Anonymous meant not drinking ever. I really thought Alcoholics Anonymous and rehab was going to teach me to drink normally. And they laughed when I told them that that's what my plan was for being there. And so I just kind of shut down and crossed my arms and didn't listen to anything they had to say. I had a couple small breakthrough moments. I remember talking to one of the techs there who was trying to explain alcoholism to me, and he got through to me a little bit, but not enough. And I was in another rehab after this one because it's never like 30 days can't fix you. I was like, 30 days is going to fix me. I'm going to go home and I'm going to be all better. And they were like, no. So I went to another rehab. Same thing, you can never drink. I thought that one would be nicer because it was in California. And I was like, California's like cool. Like people there are like chill. And they were still like, no, you can never drink again. And I wasn't very kind to the people in that rehab, like my roommates. I relapsed in the sober living I was in, and I had to make a bunch of amends. And eventually they kicked me out, and I got to Vegas where my mom was living. And I was so happy because nobody knows me in Vegas. Nobody knows the way I drink in Vegas. And I was going to prove to everybody that I wasn't an alcoholic. And I did the opposite. I proved to myself I was an alcoholic. All it took was going to the strip like one night and blacking out and coming to in a fight with a bouncer. And I didn't know where my friends were that I'd gone out with. And I didn't know where my phone was or my wallet. I didn't know where anything was. And that was the moment where I was like, this is you know what? They're right. Because I wanted to go out that night and have 2 drinks and get a good buzz and stay cool, calm, and collected. And I couldn't even do that. And so I went to a meeting the next day, and that was my sober date of May 16th of 2010. And I got a sponsor, and I started working the steps. And I hated it at first. It was miserable. I was like so hungover for like the first week, I swear. And my sponsor had these girls who were way too peppy and too nice, like driving me around to like 3 different meetings, But I was so willing because I knew what I had, and I knew that I couldn't drink again. Like I knew if I picked up a drink, I was not going to know how many drinks I was going to have. Like I finally understood that. I couldn't control the amount I drank, and that was the difference between this time and all the other times. So I sucked it up, and I did what I needed to do because I was so terrified of picking up a drink. And I really do feel like the obsession left me that day, and it was just that surrender of knowing what I was. And I mean, there's been times where it's like come back though, where I've gotten like really like just far away from the program in a way, like not even like physically far, like going to like 5 meetings a week, but like not being able to be honest with a sponsor and just feeling so distant and getting back to that place where a drink started to feel like a good idea. And I think the one thing that I had though was that knowledge of what happens when I take that drink. So it's like, okay, I need to like do something to not feel this way. I need to go to a meeting. I need to call more people. I need to like get out of this place because if I don't, I know eventually I'm gonna go pick up a drink. And my sobriety has been like, very up and down. I've had things happen in sobriety. The first 2 years were like amazing. Like I was just like cloud 9. I was going to all these young people's meetings. Like we had a crew and we'd go out to dinner afterwards and we had so much fun. And then I was dating a guy and we were living together and he was also in the program. And then he got arrested. It's not even funny. It's actually horrible. But it was like such a bad time in my life. Like people came to our house at 5 a.m. and took him away. And I had no idea where he'd gone. And like I thought they were like, I was like, is it the drug dealer? Are you doing weird stuff? Are you not sober? It turns out it was ICE. And he was held in an immigrant detention center for like 4 months. And this was like 10 years ago. I had no idea, like again, I didn't know for like almost 12 hours where he was. And that started this run I had of trying to control and manage my life in a way that I'd never done before. And I learned the most valuable lesson that I carried through the rest of my sobriety, which was when things like that happen, the less I control and manage and the more I do AA, the better it is. because I kept trying to like email the lawyers and telling them all the things they'd missed about his case. And his dad finally called me. He's like, I don't have the kind of money for you to be billing this. Like, do you want to? And so my sponsor's like, your job right now is not to get your ex or your husband out of jail, or your boyfriend out of jail. Sorry, he was my boyfriend husband, now he's an ex. But she's like, back then, she was like, your job is to show up to Alcoholics Anonymous and do as many meetings and talk to as many newcomers as possible. And I've remembered that whenever things like that happen again. So anyways, thank you so much. And yeah.
Okay, now our main speaker will share his experience, strength, and hope with us. Please join me in welcoming Hero from, I don't know where you're from. Long Beach, LBC. Okay. Good job. All right, good job.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Hero, and I am an alcoholic. I'm grateful to be here, grateful to be sober. I had to take a little moment of quiet so I can not have this be all me. I said that prayer that was given to me early, God, I'm willing to be embarrassed, but I hope it's not necessary. Thank you for inviting me to come. Thank you for being so welcoming. Craft services over there is amazing. I have a sobriety date. It's November 12th, 2007. It's the only one I've ever had, like Jen. That's the day that a power greater than me that I didn't believe in, had no time for, was terrified of, was running away from, separated me from King Alcohol and his little buddies. A lot of little buddies. I have a home group. It's the Bellflower Big Book group. We meet on Monday nights. We've got 5 meetings, but our main meeting is on Mondays. If you've never come get my number, and I got my card. And if you give me a couple weeks in advance, we'll show up when the setup guys get there, which is like 3 hours before the meeting, and we'll say hi to them, and then we'll go grab some dinner, and then we'll come into the group. And we have about 300 people on a Monday night. And a greeting line that it's low-key hazing, really. It's like 2 blocks long, dude. Like, that's just absurd. Yeah, it's long. But if you're someone like me, like if you're someone where even before you had a drink, like Jen was talking about, thank you so much, what a great talk. Even before having a drink, if you had a head that was just on you all the time, like my head going, Hero, you suck more than anyone's ever sucked before, I'm 6. And, right, and just telling me like how much I suck, how much I don't fit in, what I have to do to try and like get you to look at me the way I want you to look at me. And there's that horrible feeling, right? I remember that horrible feeling of like, I want to see you see me the way I want you to see me, and I keep seeing you see me in ways that I don't want you to see me. And that's a horrible traumatic gap. And if you're someone like me who needed a drink long before, and then taking a drink fixes that, then that's the first bad sign. The second bad sign is that the more you actually take the drink that fixes the horrific gap between how I want you to see me and how I'm currently seeing you see me, and it fixes it, but then it makes it a lot worse later, then you're really belonging here. And then if you decide not to take that drink because because the side effects are too hideous, because you no longer want to play that like Wimpy Burger game for all the people that are old like me, born in the middle of the 1900s, with like that Popeye show where Wimpy's like, I'll gladly pay you next Thursday for a Wimpy Burger today, and he never pays. My first sponsor told me you could do anything you want in Alcoholics Anonymous as long as you're willing to pay the price. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Bill. He goes, but then he says, you're never gonna want to pay the price. And I'm like, how does he know? It's so true. Oh, I also want to say hi to Lil on here. I think she's on Zoom. And thank you, Ezekiel, also for coming, my proteges. I love having them in my life. So welcome. If you're new, nearly new, recent returnee, or have time, and you've got like way too much you on board, welcome. Welcome. You don't have to take a drink or a drug in order to get you off of you. That's the best news in Alcoholics Anonymous. Because when I take a drink or drug to get me off of me, I end up with way more me on me. Like when I first heard that third step prayer, right, and it says, relieve me of the bondage of self, and I'm like, that's not the good kind of bondage they're talking about. That's like I'm all over me and I can't get away from me, and I smell like me, everything tastes like me, I can't get away from me, and what's even worse, like if you know what it feels like, where your body is sloppy drunk, and when you're high as F, but your head hasn't stopped telling you how much you suck. Like you can't even drink and use right, your head won't even shut off. Like if you know what that space is like, if you know what it's like to be like puking your guts out and you never even enjoyed that drinking bout, and your head is telling you how stupid you are, welcome to alcohol. You never have to feel that way again. If you're in here and you're feeling hopeless, this AA is kind of like I'm like a nerd before, like being a nerd was cool. And so like in the 70s where you could get beat up for being a nerd, I suppose you still could now. I mean, but nerdism has become cooler. And in the 70s, like in DC Comics, which was never the cool comic, but in DC Comics with Superman, there was this really ill-advised period of like about a couple years when there was Bizarro Superman. Seinfeld did a bit on this. And Bizarro Superman comes from another dimension where everything's done backwards. So you say goodbye instead of hello. You say you're welcome instead of thank you. AA is kind of like that, right? AA, like everything's backwards. Like the way my friend Lori S. at Paramount Speakers describes it, you can describe it to a newcomer like this. In civilian life, if you want the lawn mowed, you better either hire a gardener or get the lawnmower. But in Alcoholics Anonymous, the analogy is this: if you want the lawn mowed, come over here and wash dishes with us. It's like, what? This makes no sense. But somehow that's the weird non-logic, the illogic, the irrational logic of the 12 steps and the 12 traditions. They make no sense. But there's a Pentecostal pastor that I really like, and that's just a weird, bizarre sentence come out of my mouth, because when I was drinking, I would never have started a sentence like that. But there's a Pentecostal pastor in New York that I really like, who she says, it doesn't make sense. That's AA. It doesn't make sense, but it makes spirit. And I just got shivers. And so if you're feeling hopeless in here, one of the ways that we're backwards, if you're feeling hopeless, welcome. We want you hopeless. The more hopeless you are in here, the better. Hopelessness out there, like medical types like me, we might diagnose you with something like major depressive disorder and like either provide you therapy or medication. And if your depression is just a side effect of your alcoholism, then medication and therapy might keep you alive, but it's not going to solve your alcoholism. If you're anything like me, it's just going to make it. It's just going to make it so you can drink more, so you can set more fire to your life. Right? And so, but if you're in here, we love hopelessness. In fact, hopelessness is one of the prerequisites of Alcoholics Anonymous. If there's a step half or a step zero, it's hopelessness. I hate it when someone comes up to me and asks me to sponsor them, and they're hopeless, and then they start getting hope, and it's like either, oh, you know what, I got to rebuild that engine. Oh no, I got a new partner. Look, they're so hot. I need to pay attention to them, or they got a new job, or and they start having hope in all these material things outside of Alcoholics Anonymous. What do? They add more time into that and less time into their spiritual life, and next thing I know, they're drunk. Next thing I know, they're not even looking for heroin; they're looking for fentanyl, and that's a bad place to be. But here in Alcoholics Anonymous, we want you to stay hopeless about your drinking. We want you to stay hopeless about you running your own life. We want you to stay hopeless and hopefully you've burned down every single bridge outside of here, so that this becomes the place where my late grand sponsor Clancy would be like, there's no friendly direction except for this lame place called Alcoholics Anonymous. And if that's where you are, welcome. I hope you're hopeless enough, if you don't have a sponsor, to walk up to somebody who's taken all 12 steps and do that thing, like raise your hand, go, my name is Hero, I'm an alcoholic, and then walk up to somebody and go, will you sponsor me? I know that's not how I literally sounded, but it's how I felt. And then actually call them. Oh yeah, you told me to call you. I don't know what to say, but good morning. Okay, and they're like, hey buddy, how you doing? And then you whine to them, and then they tell you to do something stupid like pray with you, like God. It's so stupid. But then I'm done doing the Serenity Prayer with my sponsor. I'm new sober, and whatever it was that I was complaining about before, when I'm done praying with them, I'm like, well, that was stupid that worked. I have nothing to complain about now. And my sponsor's like, that's good. You'll probably find something in a few minutes, but call me later if you need me. I'll see you at the meeting. Click, And so I'm special. I was made in Japan, born there, raised here. And so that immediately gives you a couple hypotheses about me. You probably already know that I'm really good at shame, and because I was raised here, I'm really good at entitlement. And I do it in the wrong order, dude. I do the entitled behavior first, and then I go home and act really ashamed about it. Like, I didn't get the positive benefits of shame. I just did. There are some. There are some actual positive benefits of shame. You'll see it in my home group. Like if you show up to our Thursday night meeting, the old timers will sometimes say something kind to you, like, "Where are the rest of your pants?" If you're wearing shorts, or do you set up metal detectors with all that stuff in your face? And it's really rude, but it's just not kind. And I try to pull people over. They're just old, but and you're welcome. It's okay. Don't worry. They want you to stay. I'm honest. And my home group is like this pathological rule-following group, which I think I need because I'm a pathological rule breaker. And but as a kid, man, I introduced myself as Hero. That's how I've introduced myself in Alcoholics Anonymous for like 16 years. For the last couple years and a half, I've been introducing myself with my full first name, Hiroshi. And I changed my name on purpose in nursery school because I didn't want to be Japanese. It didn't really help. I mean, Hiro still sounds Japanese, but it was one of the things I could try to change in order to become more American because I didn't want to be Japanese. I hated being Japanese. I hated my face. I hated my hair. I had the little bowl haircut. I hated the clothes my mom would dress me in. I hated having an accent. I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to fit in. And so I knew the one thing I could do to fit in was to linguistically fit in. So I made sure I could sound like you. And because we followed my father went to Canada when I was 4 months old. He started a PhD program. He was studying organic chemistry. So look at the big brain on Dad. And we joined him before I was a year alive. I was sober, but I didn't know what alcohol could do for me. And then we moved from there after my dad's done to his first postdoc in Tucson, Arizona, and that's where I'm like, I don't sound like other people. I don't look like other people. I want to sound like them. And I'm really good at becoming a linguistic chameleon, so I master how to sound American. And then my dad gets a second postdoc, this time in inorganic chemistry or polymer chemistry. I don't know much about chemistry. I just know that organic chemistry is about the chemistry of oxygen. Polymer chemistry is all this other stuff that's not. But apparently it's kind of like being like an ENT and suddenly decide you're going to change gears and be a gynecologist. Like, it might be entry points in the body, but very, very different. And so he gets a second postdoc in polymer chemistry in Tuscaloosa, Alabama at the turn of the 70s. We're the Asian family, right? And so so I don't sound Southern. I sound like a Yankee. And I don't know if you know about Tuscaloosese, but in Tuscaloosese, the word hi has 3 syllables. Like, hi. So I'm like, oh man, I still don't sound like people. And so I tried really hard to sound Southern because that's how you fit in, but I still didn't fit in because I'm the only Asian kid. And I didn't know in first grade that I would be required, like once I found a drink at age 12 and would chase that stuff and then become an evangelist for King Al Collins' Little Buddies and then all of a sudden be willing to pay the price of all the negative side effects of alcohol and drugs. And by the way, if you're new, there are no negative side effects of Alcoholics Anonymous. There's no negative side effects of that 4th step. There's no negative side effects of the 5th step. 8 and 9, no negative side effects at all. But for all my other solutions, they appear to have really bad side effects. But at age 7, in first grade, I don't know that I'm going to be required to surrender to a program called Alcoholics Anonymous when I'm 42 years old, after 30 years of drinking. Now, the big book lawyers might tell me, the word surrender isn't in the big book. You're absolutely right. It says the first step is that I concede to my innermost self that I'm alcoholic. A concession is a complete letting in. A complete letting in can't happen unless I let down my defenses. I can't let down my defenses unless I surrender. So I didn't know I was required to surrender. All I knew is that in first grade, surrender felt horrible. Surrender was like this. I'm walking up to the cool kids. They're posted up after school, at the corner, like they do, and they're like, oh, here comes Haro. Let's play war. You play the Japs. And I'm like, oh, again. okay. And it was this really odd thing. It was really ambivalent. First of all, I was glad to be included. Like that was a bonus. But also it felt like icky included. And I wouldn't have words for it later. Like now, like maybe it was bullying, maybe it was hazing, maybe it was microaggressions, maybe it was just casual racism. I don't know. But all I know is that it felt icky. And so we moved after, right before third grade, we moved to Southern California, to Claremont, California, like college town, 6 colleges, a theological seminary, and a multicultural town. There's all these other Asian American kids. And it turns out Asian American kids who grew up around other Asian American kids call me things. They're calling me things like Twinkie and banana. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm here with other people that look like me, and I'm still different. Oh my! And plus, they didn't understand what the hell I was talking about because I'm like, hey, y'all want to play? So. Not good. So you could see, even at third grade, I needed a drink. I wouldn't have my first drink until junior high, what's now known as middle school. And I'm hanging out after school in a science fiction book club, because that's how I roll. That's how cool I am in 1977. And before the movie Star Wars came out, so that was when science fiction started to become cool. And this is a time when you could get pantsed and get your head swirled in the toilet for having comic books. And so I'm hanging out after school, and we had just read something like, I don't know, a Robert Heinlein novel or something. And my buddy Dave he's 12. He's left puberty in the rearview mirror. He's 6'4", got the almond brother hair like parted in the middle down to his ass, these piercing blue wizard eyes. And then he names my problem. You know that thing that happens when you have the perfect oh yeah, like alcoholism. But anyway, he says, you seem anxious all the time. Oh, that's it, that's the word, I am anxious. I'm so anxious all the time. He says, I have the solution to that. And I'm intrigued, and I believe him. He's got those, he looks like he has the answer. Got that twinkle in his eye. And he says, meet me on the north side of campus on the other side of that bamboo field, and I'll get you some of what you need. And it's kind of like an AA meeting. I'm there early, like I'm the greeter. There's only 2 of us, but I'm there 20 minutes early, because he has the solution. And he shows up, and he's got these tall boys that he shows me how to drink real fast, and he has these funny green cigarettes that he shows me how to smoke real slow, and basically the effect is kind of like this. It's like he shows me how to do this. Don't know where that came from. It was, I don't know, biological and like evolutionary. And by following some simple directions, I have a spiritual experience. Like my idea, like I had higher powers before I found alcohol. I had higher powers like pretend play. Pretend play could relieve me of me. Pretend play was amazing. I loved reading. Drinking kind of ruined this, but I also really loved the beauty of math. My father, the summer before, taught me how to do square roots longhand. And it's kind of like Sudoku, except a lot more kind of mathematical things, and takes a lot longer, a lot more tedious, but it's fun. And so I would do that. But this was the shortcut. Like square roots longhand, get it down 10 digits, takes a long time to have that kind of satisfaction. Check it against your Texas Instrument calculator, which I had at age 12. But here was a really quick way to be relieved of me, to be free of me. And so I immediately became an evangelist for King Alcohol and his little buddies. And this is what happened, rapid progression. I wanted to get you to feel the way I felt. Then soon afterward, I wanted you to feel the way I used to feel. And soon after that, people were worried about my drinking. People were saying things like, you might not drink right, you might need this place called Alcoholics Anonymous. And I did what probably all of us did, which is to find people who could drink more than me so I can feel good about my drinking. 16 years old, I'm done. Done. Handful of Valium, handful of Librium, bottle of Bacardi 151, drank it down. I knew it was calculated to cross the blood-brain barrier and stop my heart and life. No note. I was so angry at my parents. Now, my parents, good, hardworking, non-alcoholic immigrant people. Eldest son, which I experienced as burden, which I experienced as horrifically strict expectation. I didn't realize until a 5th step so many things. I was angry at them. You know how I said I now like call myself Hiroshi? That's because I don't know if you're struggling with internalized racism, internalized sexism, internalized homophobia, internalized ableism, whatever it is. It turns out that Alcoholics Anonymous is designed to rescue us from the miserable life and horrific death of alcoholism, but the 12 steps and the 12 traditions could also heal internalized prejudice. It's crazy. And in the 5th step, I realized that I was angry at my parents for being really weird, and they were weird because they were Japanese. And there's that thing where, like, my parents gave me everything. Like, we started out poorer, but we ended up middle class because my dad's white collar, right? And you might have kids, and you might have succeeded to do everything every single parent wants to do, which is to make sure that your kids don't have to suffer the way you suffer, and to make sure that your kids have a leg up in life that you did not have. And if you've succeeded at that, you might actually have the evidence from your own kids that I gave to my parents. I was completely entitled, had no gratitude or no curiosity about how they suffered, how much they've sacrificed. I just want to know, where's mine? The other thing, too, is that this thing that I now realize happens multiculturally, multi-generationally, is that I describe these things that I couldn't read. Like, if you compare me to more enculturated Japanese people, I am airblind. I cannot read the air. I'm like Japanese autistic. Like if you're not saying it, I don't get it. And but for them, what I now realize, there must have been like these subtitles that I didn't know were there. And so my friend Jay, he'd be coming home in 3rd grade with like 3 A's and 2 B's, and he'd get $1 for each of his A's. $1977, 25 cents for a comic book. That went a long way, right? My parents, I bring home 4 A's and 1 B. Do I get $4? No. My parents are going, what's wrong with the B? What happened? And I'm like, I'm feeling oppressed. But it turns out that feeling of oppression and burden, it turns out it's legacy, it's hope. They're hoping that this generation can do better than the previous generation here in America. And I don't experience it as hope. I just experience it as like this Atlas level weight. And if I could have read the subtitles in the 5th step, I realized what they said. In the 5th step, they said things like, we love you. You've advanced so much more in acculturation than we ever will. You're able to pronounce syllables that we can't, the THs versus the S's. You're able to do articles and pronouns better than us. Pronouns have become challenging once again, but it's just practice. I've practiced them before. I went from using shiz for hers and to hers. I can master it. And they're saying, look, we're going to be on you because education is the way that we know you're going to be able to excel, even us, here in this country. And we're incredibly proud of you. We're just worried about this B. But I don't know that they're saying this. I just think that I'm falling short, that I'm not worthy, that I can't stand up. And I don't realize that later this would be characterized in Alcoholics Anonymous as selfishness and self-centeredness. I don't know this. And so I have that. I have those pills. I have the drink. And I realized only a couple years ago, I've heard so many of you share, and you say things like, alcohol saved my life. Alcohol made it so I didn't have to commit suicide. And in my case, alcohol saved my life because I'm like half the Japanese population. I have the Asian flush. If you ever see me and you suspect me of drinking and you see me bright red, hang out. Apparently I'm entertaining. If you ever see all the blood like drain out of my face and sweat pop out of my forehead, you want to step back about 7 feet because 6 feet is my puking radius. And unlike so many of you that are able to rally, like drink, drunk, puke, rinse, repeat, like I was never able to rally. I would always, once I took that drink, I was done for the next 12 to 36 hours. I have no more water here. So I'd be like, oh, let me just get a little bit of water so that my esophagus doesn't feel like a sock that's turned inside out. You know what I mean? So I have something to expel. And so I would always try to avoid that drink. That drink for you might be breaking out in handcuffs. That drink for you might be divorce papers. That drink for you may be, DCFS visiting. That drink for you might be being behind bars, seeing the red lights behind you. That drink for me was always that drink that led me to vomiting and just knowing that I'm just screwed for the next 12 to 36 hours. And I would try to avoid that drink. But in this case, that drink saved my life. That drink made it so that I can wake up to a lake of half-dissolved pills and vomit, and there was a cleanup in my room so that I wouldn't get. Oh, thank you so much. So I wouldn't get. Thank you so much. And do I go into Alcoholics Anonymous? No, I don't come into AA until the age of 42. Let me speed through the next 2.5 decades for you. I graduated from that high school barely, not because I did everything, but because I had adults that cared about me that made sure I did everything. I think I did the first aid requirement done the day before graduation. I get into a major university in Los Angeles. I drop out of that university because I think, school's stupid. And then I work in an insurance company for a year, and I realize work without a degree is stupid. And so I go back to school, and I complete that degree in 7 years instead of 4. I get into a top 25 PhD program in English literature in the Midwest. I end up with what I thought was seasonal affective disorder, hard winter, and also graduate student writer's block. See, here's the other thing about kids like me. When I got to Claremont, I did all that testing in the Claremont Unified School District. They found me gifted. They put me in the gifted program, and I would later discover I learned about how psychologists study kids like me. In the West, when we're gifted, it doesn't actually make us perform better. It makes us perform worse. And the reason why is when you're gifted, things that are hard for other people are easy. But then when you're confronted with something that's hard, you don't want to do it because it's hard. And then you see people who are just like the plugging away people, right? And I'm Aesop's grasshopper. I just want to play music the whole time, and all the ants are just going, And what do I know? I'm starving in the winter. And so this thing would always happen to me where I would see people excelling, and what I realize now in my fifth step, all that graduate student writer's block was entitlement. I've done all the reading, I've done all the thinking, I know exactly what the paper's going to say. Why do I have to write it? Because that's the work. But I don't know that. I'm like, I've already done it, so I don't have to. I'm special. And so I drop out of there. I transfer all the credits I have to the other big university in town, the private one, and I get a full ride there. My full ride depends on me teaching freshman writing. So for the first time, I start experiencing the horrific double life that Wilson talks about in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, because I'm trying to teach writing and I can't finish half my papers again, because somehow I brought seasonal affective disorder to a place with a lot of sun, and I've also brought this grad student writer's block, not knowing that both are just symptoms of alcoholism. And I drop out of there, I meet my wife, we get together during the civil unrest that was called the LA riots. We get married in 95, I get sober in 2007. Tells you two things about the early part of our marriage. That I'm very exciting until I'm terrifying. My wife, she finished that degree and she became an English professor, and she just recently retired, and she's never wanted to do therapy. She's like, that's your team. And so she finally got some trauma therapy, and she's been doing trauma therapy for the last 6 months. She's been doing that eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. And last week, I got her permission to say this. Last week, she comes out of the room because she's doing it in teletherapy, and she needs a hug. She always needs a hug after her therapy, and she needs a hug. And she's hugging me, and she's going, "We just did 2007." I'm like, "What the?" And she's like, "Yeah, we just did 2000. The year that my husband went crazy and then joined Alcoholics Anonymous." Like, she required trauma therapy from that year. Because right around now, 19 years ago, I need to sleep. Now, after I got sober, before I got sober, Heath Ledger died. But after I got sober, 3 other people died. There was Tom Petty, there was Prince, there was Michael, and all of these are all people who needed a good night's sleep, man. All needed a good night's sleep. And they were getting it medically, but then they got the big sleep. And so I'm trying to get a good night's sleep, and I'm driving up the 110 to get up to a major hospital in town, and I'm doing things like I'd already, by this point, I've conquered the graduate student writer's block because my willpower is cool like that, and I completed another doctoral program in a completely different discipline because I'm my dad's son. And I would have this experience where I'm in the fast lane, and I come to, and I'm in the exit lane, and on my way to work. About a month from now, in 2007, I'm having psychotic episodes at the hospital in which I work. And what that looks like is I'm in the men's room going F, 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 F. It's kind of like Tourette's, except it's rhythmic. And I'm trying really, really hard not to be psychotic. And if you've ever been psychotic, in other words, if you've ever seen things that other people don't see, and if you've ever heard things that other people don't hear, and if you've ever been actively delusional, and the medical definition of a delusion is a fixed, and in other words, unchangeable false belief that you believe, but everyone else is like, hey man, that's not true. And sometimes a delusion will like wrap the person who's safe into the delusion, like the person goes, hey, no one's after you, man. And I'm like, oh, you're one of them. And that's me. That's me. And I'm trying hard not to be psychotic so I can go provide psychotherapy to a 7-year-old. And it's notoriously difficult to do play therapy for a child with with a generalized anxiety disorder if the therapist is more terrified than the child. And it's also incredibly hard not to be terrified if the shadows don't stop moving. It's not good. So I don't try to provide therapy to that kid. I have enough me online so I can go, yeah, that's a bad idea. I go to my bosses and I tell them a little bit what's going on. I give them just the little tiny tip of the iceberg of my symptoms, like the little panic attacks I'm having at work. I sleep every 2 or 3 hours a night, maybe 2 or 3 nights a week. This has been going on for 3 or 4 months. Maybe I have that sleep deprivation psychosis. I want to tell them about the depression and the anxiety, and but they're like, you don't have to tell us anymore. That's okay. Please don't contact your patients. We will take care of them. We'll make sure they're all right. Go down the hall to HR. Here's a pamphlet for the Employee Assistance Program. They'll show you how to connect to that. Please go get professional help. We'll keep your job. Come back when you're better. Please bring a note. So one of the things that kept me out of Alcoholics Anonymous is that, well, first, I'm a binge drinker. I'm a periodic until I'm drinking every day. I'm a binge drinker until I need it in the morning. And I've always been able to stop. This was the last time I was able to stop. And with this time, some medical help. And I come back to that pre-doctoral internship, and I know all I have to do is not drink or use. That's it. Not drink or use. That's it. And someone invites me to a wine tasting. And I'm described in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, where there comes a certain point in my life where I have no defense against the first drink. And in chapter 4, more about alcoholism, which is a chapter of like case studies of people who know they can't drink and drink. It's weird because my phenomenology, my lived experience is I chose that drink. I chose to go, I chose that drink. But really, it's described in chapters 3 and 4 where the memory of the misery of just a week or a month ago, in this case a month ago, I can't bring to mind it with sufficient force. And so I think it's a good idea. I go take that drink. Within 30 days, I'm insane. And my wife confronts me with those dead glass taxidermy eyes. You know the ones? And she's like part like owl or something, like nictating membranes. Like blink, blink, horror. Blink, blink, disgust. Blink, blink, utter contempt. Like, who the F are you? What have you done with my husband? Give me that Visa card and that debit card and that Amex card. Give me all those damn cards. We might be done. Apparently, I had done something stupid, like, I don't know, bought a bunch of closet organizers for $1,000 that we didn't need. So that apparently they were returned. I don't remember returning them. But so I made an SOS phone call that night. I don't call any of you. I don't call any sober alcoholics. I call the only person I can think of. This is a Friday night, 9:30 p.m. My friend Mary picks up on the third ring, picks up. And I'm like, Mary, I'm so glad you answered the phone. I don't trust my shrink. I think I need a new shrink. I think I'm bipolar. I think I need some lithium. And she's never heard me in this terrified manic state before. So she says, Hero, what's going on? And I had what I now experience as my very first surrender in Alcoholics Anonymous. I tell her everything. You know that thing where you like think of yourself as an honest person, but if you're talking to your prescribers, you don't want to give them all the information because then you don't get the drugs you want. I'll talk to you about my migraines, I'll talk to you about my anxiety, I'll talk to you about my stomach problems, I'll talk to you about my panic attacks, I'll talk about my inability to sleep. And then that way you could get them all and then mix them. Anyway, so, but I tell her, this one, for the first time, I tell somebody everything. All the skeezy acting out I'm doing, all the crap I'm pouring into my body, just trying to get to okay. I can't get to okay. And I tell her all of this, and there's this horrific silence after I'm done with that 20-minute confessional, which was probably only like a couple milliseconds that it was quiet. And then she says, Hero, I'm a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I've been sober for 22 years. Maybe you need a meeting. And it's like 2 inches below my belly button. It's like a branch there. It just goes pop, and I just start sobbing. And I'm doing like stomach crunches involuntarily, like snot pouring out the nose, like chuck, like ugly cry, like full body release. And I'm sobbing like this because I've been to AA as a professional, and I know that one day at a time means forever. So that's terrifying. But also I'm bewildered because I'm hopeful because I know what AA can do. In fact, she's the one, this is the bewildering part, she's the one who taught me how to send you to Alcoholics Anonymous. She's the one who taught me to tell you things like, you might not drink right, you might need this place called AA. I can't help you with that. They know how to stay sober there. Go to Alcoholics Anonymous. She told me to tell you, if you go to AA, go there to identify, not compare. Go there to listen for similarities, not differences. She even told me to tell you, if you don't believe you're an alcoholic, don't worry about that. Go to one of these meetings. That was the LA meeting directory. Now you have the little meeting guide app with a blue chair. Thank you, 10 minutes. And an O is for an open meeting. That's anyone can go. C is a closed meeting. It's for alcoholics only. And she even told me to tell you this thing. She said, she told me to tell you, if you don't believe in God, or if you have trouble with God, don't worry about that. That's Advanced Alcoholics Anonymous. That's a later step. Now that was useful for me because I came in like overeducated beyond my usefulness to myself and others, and with I came in like a devout agnostic. Like I was professionally trained to be an agnostic. I was trained in the scientific method. You're supposed to not know until you gather evidence until you know. And fortunately, I had a sponsor, like working class sponsor, who just said, "Why don't you do the experiment of AA? Why don't you do the experiment of like taking all these steps and doing what I do and see if your life is improved?" And he gave me that old saw, you know, like. That will refund your misery after a year if you don't think this will work for you, and I'm so grateful for the people in my life. I mean, I have Clancy Johnny dyslexia. Johnny ended up being my sponsor for the last 381 days of his life when he died at 94 years old and 64 years sober last year, and for the last year and 8 days, Larry Jaysman took my case. And Larry's a hero whisperer. He gets right underneath my ego and helps me to laugh at myself. I hope you find somebody like that too. But I remember hearing Clancy. Well, I heard one of them. I'm just gonna choose a name because I can't remember whose story is which. I remember hearing Clancy say something like, you know, his first sponsor told him like pray to whatever hangs the moon in the sky, and I'm like, what? Inertia? Inertia is going to keep me sober? And then I hear Johnny say, like, hey, pray to whatever makes the grass grow. And I'm like, photosynthesis? Like, this is stupid. But the problem is that I'm spiritually autistic. Like, I'm taking it literally. I don't know that it's theopoetics. I don't know that if this higher power, if this God is infinite, the human mind is finite, all we can do is have analogies, metaphors, and poetry to talk about this higher power. It's all we can do to approximate this thing. I didn't even know that there was an entire century when there was a series of desert fathers, these mystics who were doing apophatic theology. Apophatic theology just means negative theology. Let's name everything that's amazing, and whatever it is, that's not God. God is way bigger than that. Right? And like an entire theology of like trying to experience oneness with God by recognizing oneness with anything that's material isn't oneness with God. And I had people telling me, like whispering in my ear, like, dude, you believe in beauty. You believe in the sublime. You believe in the arts. You believe in music. You believe in where music can transport you. Not when you're like in your last days sober. Now that you're sober, music means something again. You love theater. You love film. You love comic books. Go to Comic-Con. Do these things. And just by the way, all of these things are grounded in God. Like all the things that give meaning to your life are grounded in God. And I'm like, well, I like that God. And I remember early on, like the first 5 days of my sobriety were effing miserable. They were so miserable, but I didn't drink, and I was calling my sponsor every day and going to a meeting every day. And on the 5th day, this weird thing happens. I'm in a meeting like this one. Someone shares something they really shouldn't share, and I'm laughing. And it's not the kind of psychotic laughing where I'm laughing about like internalized stimuli and everyone else is like, what's wrong with that guy? It's not that kind of laughing. And it's not even the kind of mean-spirited laughing at someone like, ha ha. Like I was a bullied kid that became a bully, and so when I speak in the Inland Empire, I just say, hey, anyone else who like class of '83 or around there, just let me know. I probably owe you an amends if I bullied you. And but I'm laughing at where I'm laughing with the person. I'm laughing with everybody. And it's kind of like seeing my favorite rock and roll stars, like with the Stratocaster, Telecaster up against the Marshall stack, and an amazing feedback going, wee, wee. Or for the younger people, like when the DJ gets the bass all the way up to 11, you just feel it going right through your entire skeletal muscular system, going boom, 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 boom. And it almost feels like back in Tuscaloosa, and I'm going to the little handy dandy store with my mom, and there's those two mirrors that are facing each other, and I'm going, oh look, it's me, it's me, it's me, it's me, it's me, it's me, and it just feels so amazing, and it's like we're tripping balls in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous sober, and I'm just laughing so freaking hard, and it feels so good. And I go running after my sponsor after that, and I'm going, what the hell was that? That was amazing. He's like, what are you talking about? That laughter, that feeling, it just felt so good. I didn't even want to drink it. I just felt so free and so happy and so amazing. What was that? He goes, that's God, buddy. And I'm like, what the, wait, that's God? He's like, yeah, buddy, that's God. I want more of that. I need more of that God. He's like, good, I'll see you at the meeting tomorrow. And I wish that, because I'm a peak experience guy, man. If that's the way I experience God all the time, that's amazing. Thank you, I got 5 minutes. I'm really grateful for the steps. I'm really grateful that I could see the ways in which I harm people through my selfishness and my fear and my dishonesty and my resentments, and so grateful for that 4th and 5th step, and I'm so grateful for 6 and 7, where my dear friend Barbara F., who got sober in 1974, she took me aside when I was 30 days sober and said, honey, I know you have a sponsor, but you also have a board of directors, and I'm on it, honey. Your sponsor has complete veto power, but I will tell you what to do. And so she says me a little bit later on when I'm complaining to her about some random thing that I don't remember now, but was really important to me then. She says, honey, just go into the bathroom, look in the mirror, and say, God, my name is Hero. I am an alcoholic. I humbly ask you to remove my shortcomings. And then she says, honey, I promise you, God always will if you act as if he already has, honey. And this is my experience of 6 and 7. Like 6 and 7, over and over, ask God to remove my defects, ask God to remove my shortcomings, and then leave the bathroom and act as if he already has. And as a result of that, I was able to go and do the amends, first with my wife and then my parents. And I really wanted to go to all my exes, my sponsors, and leave them alone. You've harmed them enough. You wait for a sign from God that you won't be harmful to them. Like, what does that look like? It's like, oh, you're at LAX, you're way across the concourse. You see one of them going, Hero! Then you know you're allowed to go make amends to them. So, but making those amends and knowing that the director's amends is just the announcement of the behavior change that gets to continue all my life. And when my parents passed away, my dad in 2019 and my mom during the lockdown, and feeling so incredibly bereft. And I'm here to let you know in the last few minutes that it's actually possible to avoid grief. I've done it. It's possible to avoid grief. All you have to do, it's really simple, just refuse to love. That's it. I have acted in ways that made sure that people broke up with me that I deeply loved. I've quit jobs before they could fire me, and you've already heard how I don't even start writing a paper in case I might fail. And but if you love, my experience is this. I hope you take the steps. I hope you get to have this way of like being able to turn to a higher power and say, God, please help me be the son that trusts, act like a son that trusts and relies on you. Help me be a husband that trusts and relies on you. Help me be an AA member that trusts and relies on you. Help me be a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous that trusts and relies on you, and then go and act like that guy. What would that guy do? Try to act like that guy. And I'm so grateful that I was able to act like that guy, because by the time my parents died, then I knew. I mean, it just tore my heart apart, but it felt like, I have no idea what happens before we're born, what happens after we die, but I also have, that's my head. You taught me in Alcoholics Anonymous that my experience is what matters. And my experience is this. Maybe those neuroscientists are right. Maybe there's an entire neural net around the heart. Maybe that heartbreak that we feel is a physiological experience. And maybe, just maybe, when I feel the things that are good in my life, when I know how to behave, it's my late sponsor, Johnny, it's my dear friend, Larry Thomas, who passed away last year, it's my friend, Judy Caduti, who passed away last year also, it's even people who have passed away that I have never even met, like Chuck C. and Bill and Bob themselves, and my parents. It feels like my parents are right here, right now, as I think of them, and it's transformed from this debilitating sorrow, which really was just the remnant of love. And now that remnant of love is transformed into just a knowledge that no matter how horrific things might be in the world or in my life or in my perspective, that all is well. And that's all I wanted to feel in alcohol. That's all I get to feel in Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you.